All right, so welcome to the vlog. My name is Eric, and we're here to talk about differences and commonalities between the U.S. and the Philippines. And my guest today is
Ryan. My name is Ryan.
And tell me about yourself.
So I live here. I was born in the Philippines. Stayed here all my life, but I studied in the United States in early part of 2000. That was about more than 20 years ago. I lived in the United States for 2 years.
Okay.
2 years. I worked there. I worked in the United States as a mailman in the USPS.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, earning $8 an hour.
Okay.
I did that. I did office work in the purchasing department. So I saw the United States from the point of view of a tourist,
Right.
a student, and as someone who lived and worked.
And where did you go to college there?
I studied in the University of San Francisco.
Okay.
That was after I took my liberal arts degree here in the Philippines, and I took a postgraduate degree in business in USF.
Okay. And now, to brag a little bit,
Yeah.
how'd you graduate? How'd you do?
Oh yeah. I I finished the top of my class.
Yeah.
I'm the class valedictorian of my
That's awesome.
school.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
So yeah, the school chose me to represent the graduating class. So yeah, that's how I had a taste of the United States.
So, I'm from the U.S. and I lived there for 62 years. So I'll call myself kind of an expert on the United States a little bit, traveled around. But I was also spent 20 years in the military. So I lived in Germany for 6 years, in Turkey for 2 years. And I've been here for almost 4 months. Two months in Manila and 2 months here at staying at your house.
Right.
And so I'm a very new novice on the Philippines, but I thought I'd take this opportunity to discuss the commonalities and differences in the Philippines. And I know you're the expert for the Philippines, but you also know about the United States enough that you'll understand what I'm talking about.
Right,
And you'll be able to correct me about different issues that we see.
Correct.
So what was your first impression of the United States, if you remember back? What was the first thing that caught your eye? Or
To begin with, the choice of where to go for your postgraduate studies, I was like choosing between the United States and staying within Asia, like in Thailand or in Singapore. Never Europe. Maybe because of the language barrier. I considered France, but the language barrier didn't really do it for me. So I finally chose the United States to pursue my postgraduate degree. My first impression, well, as I said before, when I went to the United States, it was full of energy and enthusiasm, and you will really get a sense of that this country is something special. It attracts all kinds of talents from all over the world, and they're in one small city of San Francisco, and it's full of energy. Compare that to where I came from, like this small town of Angeles of about 400,000 people.
And this is where you're from originally?
This is my hometown.
So, this is it. So
this is it.
Lived here the whole time.
Yeah, this is my hometown, and you will see it's a homogeneous society. We all look the same. We all come from the same backgrounds, same small. Well, it's a little bit different now because Angeles City is getting a little bit more cosmopolitan and a little bit more urbanized.
We should mention just a shout out to the restaurant we're at, because
Right.
whose restaurant is this?
This is the restaurant of my uncle. Yeah,
Okay.
his name is. I think we're not supposed
You
to say
can give
his
the name of the restaurant, though.
Yeah. The name of the restaurant is Aranchi Blue.
And we just had dinner here,
Right.
and I'll insert some pictures here.
Yeah, what
of
we
the
ate, right?
Pizza and lasagna and the food.
Wow.
excellent. Highly recommend it.
Very
I think
good.
I've eaten here 6 times. This is the 7th time I've been here.
6 times.
So it's great, and that's in 2 months.
Yeah, they already know you here. This is
Yeah.
your kitchen, right?
These are my friends.
Yeah,
They are.
They
take care of me.
Yes.
And I'll tell you the first thing that I noticed, or the reason why I came to the Philippines and chose it over any place, because I could have retired anywhere, was definitely the language. Because I know if I would have went to Thailand or someplace like that, it's easy to get lonely when no one can have a deep conversation with you.
Right.
And so that was the number one reason. And second, the SRRV visa program for retired military. And I have a video on that, on how to run through that process.
Right.
It's not hard at all if you follow the process to get the paperwork done. It's a lot of paperwork, but it's inexpensive, and to have a lifetime retirement visa is fantastic to have, because then you really feel like this is your home, you know. And then I bought a truck and everything. But the second reason was how far the dollar goes. It goes really far here. And it may not be the cheapest place in the world to live, but is certainly 40% less, I would think. And then third would be all the stuff to see. Because I'm going to travel over the next 3 years. I'm going to travel and see all of the Philippines. I spent 2 months in Manila, 2 months here. I'll do a month in Subic and work my way around all of Luzon for about a year, and then work my way all the way down to Siargao, Mindanao, and then all the way back up. And I should be in Palawan in 3 years, and then I'll figure out where I want to go.
I have a question for you. You mentioned a while ago, you were alluding to a community, like you were saying home. You said home a while ago, and you've been here in the Philippines for about 4 months now. How's that? What's your impression about that in terms of community and home? Because, as you said, you're gonna go around the Philippines for the next months or so, and you're gonna be having this community, right? Yeah.
So that's a tough question, because I've talked to a lot of people about different things, and there's a lot of vloggers who do very well in very focused areas, like how to meet the right Filipina, but what they do is they generalize everybody, and they're all the same. Or the vloggers that talk about how 3 generations of family all live in the same house. And they stereotype a lot of it, but it's not really like that. There's still some of that, but that's like saying everything in the U.S. is a traditional marriage. It's just so different. There's what I've found just from dating sites and things like that. There's a lot of single mothers, and the family units don't always stay together. It's very different. So I can't generalize that. But what I will say is, I haven't had a problem with any Filipinos since I got here. They've all been friendly. They've all been super courteous, and I've had a great time with all of it. I haven't regretted a single minute. I never look back and go, I shouldn't have came. Not 1 minute, because they treat you so good. In general, and most speak enough English that you can get by, and some speak English almost like a native speaker, like yourself. So it's very easy to communicate. The cultures, people are the same everywhere.
Right.
Although
we're discussing about cultural differences between the United States and the Philippines. I'm so surprised or astounded why you have such a good impression of the Philippines. I don't want to burst your bubble. But it got me thinking. I think our culture as Filipinos, we're a little bit agreeable.
Yes.
We don't like to rock the boat.
Except a couple Grab drivers I had who got mad at people that wouldn't do what they wanted on the road. Yeah.
Right.
Except for those.
Something like that.
They were yelling at each other. And I was like, whoa, the first time I saw that in Manila, I was like, whoa, are you guys yelling out loud?
Right.
But, because you're not supposed to raise your voice, you're not supposed to.
And especially, Eric, your exterior of the way you look, it has an advantage for you here.
Right. Yeah.
Because of you're American and you're foreigner. And
I thought it was the blue eyes.
Yeah, with the blue eyes,
of
course, the blue eyes, that's a given. Yeah, so I think Filipinos are more courteous and friendly, and
sure.
Yeah, maybe because we think, the United States has been good to Filipinos.
For the most part.
For the most part.
For the most
like,
part, yes.
We're in Angeles City.
Currently, absolutely.
Yeah, we're in Angeles City, and Angeles City is the city that hosted the American bases, the
Right,
United
Clark and-
States
yeah, yeah.
Air Force here
Yeah.
in Clark. And for the Filipinos who live here in this part of the Philippines,
Right. Who know the history.
who know the history and
Right.
what the Americans did for the economy of Clark
Yeah.
and the economy of Angeles, of course, that's a lot of...
And Clark is still beautiful.
Yeah.
With its water parks, and with its resorts, and with the zoo,
Right.
and
So
everything.
you are benefiting from the goodwill
Right.
of those that came before you, and
Yeah.
I think that's a good thing.
And let me caveat onto that. I was in Germany for 6 years, and at the time this was around Desert Storm,
Yeah.
and even before Desert Storm and
Right.
after, the German people really weren't friendly to Americans because I won't say what service, but not the Air Force.
Right.
Were involved in different things that
Right.
gave us a bad reputation.
Right.
Well, the older Germans I met that then were in their 60s and 70s,
Right.
they remember the World War, and they remember what we did
Right.
for liberation, and they
Right.
remember not just us, but Russia and everyone else.
Right.
They were like, they bent over backwards. They treated me like I get treated here.
Right.
So I know that, history is important, and when people do things, when nations do things for other nations,
Right.
it is a big deal.
Right, right.
And when I watch what's going on in the Philippine waters,
Right.
it really, having been in the military 20 years,
Right.
I'm bothered by that. And I'm all for, anything that you guys do, but I know there's the huge economic tie with the Philippines and China. So it's the biggest culture shock when you went to the U.S. and maybe you didn't even realize it until you came back, or maybe you noticed what really, really surprised you, or what was difficult.
For me, the biggest culture shock was the way they treated the next generation, because that was alien to me. I couldn't understand how when you're 18 you have to leave
Right.
the house,
And it's
your home.
It's a little bit less that way.
yeah.
But it kind of is. It's
Yeah.
that old mentality, the cowboy spirit of
Right.
I raised you to be independent, now go and make your way.
Right.
And I raised my kids that way. I tried to raise them to be independent.
Right.
They don't always move away, and I think it ties into why the Philippine culture is the way it is quite a bit, because it all goes back to economics.
Correct.
It's much easier to house 3 generations in one house
correct.
than everybody have their own house.
Right.
And in the U.S., it's a little bit, it's tougher now for kids to buy their own house and move out. So I think they're staying longer, or they're just staying.
With their
Yeah.
parents, right?
Yeah.
But Eric, I tell you that's for me a culture shock.
Yeah.
But knowing what I know now as a middle-aged,
Right. We've learned a lot since then, yeah.
Yeah. I can see the value
Right.
of that cowboy spirit.
Yeah.
The spirit of you really don't help the next generation by
Right.
by sheltering
Propping them up.
or
Yeah.
or trying to
Yeah.
make life comfortable for them. Are you really helping them?
You've seen about the person who helped the butterfly get out of the cocoon.
Something like that.
And then it
yeah.
doesn't grow as strong wings, and then it dies.
Yeah, so
that's kind of the mentality. I think.
yeah, but we're talking about two different traditions, customs. The tradition of you're on your own when at a certain as opposed to in the Philippine context, but we're family and
Right.
we'll stay together forever in one house.
But it's not that in the U.S. the question is how long do the parents support the children. The question here is, at what point do the children are expected to get jobs and support the parents?
That's right.
And that's really the big difference that shocked me is, and I know there was talk online from bloggers about that's a law,
Right.
that they're supposed to support them if they can support them in a way, but I don't know if it's if it's ever enforced.
Right.
But you always see the kids that get jobs and stuff, they do send money home.
Right.
If they're overseas workers, they send money home,
Right.
which I think is great. You do what you do, and you make commitments to your family,
Right.
and you follow through. So that's great.
That's right. But that's a good point. Although recently it's a little bit, it's trying to be challenged because of the younger generation. They're saying that, am I really responsible for my parents?
Right.
Something like that. So
Yeah, that would never go over well in the U.S. now.
Yes,
because
yes.
it's never really been that way. It's
Right.
always been about I'm your child.
Right.
Support me.
Right.
Tax breaks and all
right,
that. So
right.
So from what you learned in the years that you were in the U.S., what do you think is the most admirable quality about the culture? What do you look at and say, I wish we had that in the Philippines?
Well, it has got to be the idea of freedom.
yeah,
Yeah, because the United States, if there's anything that is remarkable about the United States, is that you are the master of your destiny.
right.
And that's
For good or bad.
Yeah, for good or bad.
Yeah.
That's very American
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah.
To me, as someone
I agree.
who studied, worked, and lived there, that is the most remarkable, the most quintessential American characteristic. The idea of freedom, and
Right.
that your future and your destiny is in your hands.
And it really was set up with the Constitution and the amendments.
Right.
Because when you protect your freedom of speech
Right.
with the right to bear arms
Right.
against a tyrannical government, and then you don't let people
Take that
break
away
into your
from you.
house,
Right.
and you protect those rights, just that being in place is a big deal. But what I'll tell you that I admire most about the culture
Of the Philippines?
is the opposite of that.
Okay.
Because you have laws against derogatory speech against another person, and it's very well protected. And a foreigner can get thrown out of the country for just being someone that they don't really want to have, an undesirable person, and not even anywhere near the Russian bloggers, stuff, or the other crimes of it. But I mean, if they're just not desirable. And then when I saw recently that people who were being deported were not allowed into the U.S. because of bad reputations of things. I think, well, that's nothing. Here, if I'm not polite to the customs agent at the airport, they put a check mark on me and they don't let me in the country. It doesn't matter how prepared you are; they just don't let you in. And vloggers have talked about that. They said, be nice to those people because if they don't like you, you don't come in the country. You're undesirable. And I think it makes me, as a foreigner, which I'll be a foreigner forever, but it makes me understand that this is not my home. I don't have the same rights here. I'm a guest in your country, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate so much that I'm going to treat everybody with respect. I'm going to be nice to everybody, and I don't expect special treatment. I'm already getting more courtesy than I've earned. So I'm more than happy to be, a contributor to the culture, a contributor to the economy, to help out people. So that's the United States could learn a lot from that. Just being friendlier to everybody, but also on the other side of that, when you're a guest in the U.S., to be the same be courteous to the people in the U.S. Unlike the unrest you see today.
Understood.
It's different because if a group of expats acted like that, they'd ship them out immediately. And I totally get that. So it's interesting. So tell me, what from your time in the U.S., what's your biggest pet peeve? What do you like really bothers you about the U.S.?
This again. My answer to that would be shaped by where I'm coming from. I'm coming from a third world country like the Philippines, and we're used to chaotic situations. And my pet peeve about Americans is that they like everything to be organized and to
Yes.
be in place
Yes,
and to
of
be
course, of course.
in the right location and to
on
always
time.
be on time.
And on time.
Yeah, that's really my pet peeve.
Really?
Yeah, because for me, like it has to have
Island
some
time.
leeway of
Yeah.
like
No,
there
it's-
has to be some room for uncertainty.
Right.
Yeah, something like that.
So, just allowable.
yeah,
Yeah.
like things happen, and
Yeah.
here in the Philippines, things always happen. So there's always something that's gonna come up
Right.
that will throw the whole plan.
I know why.
Outside of the
It's because you don't like to say no.
right.
So someone invites you to a party,
Right.
and you say,
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
think about that. Yeah. And you know you're not showing up, right? Because you want to be agreeable.
Right.
Yeah. In the
We
U-
don't want to rock the boat.
In the U.S., it would be,
Right.
oh, there's no chance I'm going.
Right,
you know?
right.
So I'll tell you mine.
Is, and you know this, everybody knows this has ever traveled in the Philippines,
Right.
the traffic.
Terrible, right?
It's not even terrible. It's insane.
It's horrible.
The best advice I got from vloggers was ride in the grabs for about 2 weeks before
Right.
you ever try to drive anything, scooter or car. Look at the traffic, figure out what's going on and how it
Right.
works,
Right.
and then maybe you'll be safe to travel. And I'll tell you, that was good advice
Right.
because I got my truck about a month and a half
After.
I've been here a month and a half,
Right.
and I was in Manila, and I watched traffic, and I told the Honda dealer, I don't want to pick up the truck until I already have the tags. And for those of you who don't know, tags used to take 6 months,
Right.
a year, or
Right.
never,
Right.
and now it's down to took about 20 days
Wow.
for a new car.
Nice.
At the we'll shout out to BGC Toyota, they
Yeah.
did a great job,
Right.
and they kept my truck for me for about 3 additional weeks in the warehouse. They put the tags on, they washed it, had it ready to go. So my first drive was out of Manila,
Seamless.
to Pampanga, and the traffic here is not as crazy
It's in Manila.
as Manila. But if they transported you straight from the U.S. to here, Pampanga, you could die on the interstate real easy because it's still crazy.
Right.
Manila's insane.
Right.
Insane.
So Manila prepared you.
It prepared me, much calmer.
Right.
But then when I went to Bataan, it was very easy to travel. Because you just have to learn to kind of be courteous and
Give way.
play chicken.
Right.
And whoever's out the furthest at the time, and you learn to use the motorbikes and the trikes they'll start blocking the traffic
as
and
shields.
as shields,
As
and then you can go. And they're always
Good,
they're always
good.
faster
Yeah.
because they're smaller. They'll cut in
Right,
traffic,
right,
so they usually cut in, and then you can kind of follow in with them.
Yeah.
So, but traffic.
There's a
You can
kind
use
of
it.
symbiotic relationship between the 4 wheels and
It
the
is.
2 wheels.
Yeah, you try not to run them over,
Right.
and they try to go as fast as they can.
Good.
So let's finish off with advice. What's if you're out there listening and they want, what's the one piece of advice or a couple pieces of advice you would give them?
For me, there's only one thing I will give. If you're a foreigner, whether you're American, European, you're another Asian going to the Philippines, is to have, the spirit of adventure.
Yeah.
Keep an open mind because the Philippines is still considered wild west.
Right.
The fact that we can mix all of those, like we were talking about traffic a while ago, 4 wheels and 3 wheels and 2 wheels and maybe 1 wheel and all
With no traffic lights.
Yeah, in between with no traffic lights
Yeah.
and still make it work.
Right.
So it's really the wild
And
west.
it does work because there's almost no speed limit signs.
Right? No,
There's almost no police that do
No-
traffic
no
control.
enforcers.
There'll be every once in a while there'll be a patrolman that's
Right.
directing traffic,
Right.
but not usually.
yeah, and there are like wannabe patrolmen and wannabe
Right.
enforcers who are not really authorized but do the
But
job.
to do it, okay.
So it's really the wild west, right?
Notice real quick, or it's like U-turns are built in. They're built in. Like they'll just have an open space,
And-
you're supposed to U-turn there.
Right,
Whereas
right.
in the U.S., that's like a mistake.
Right.
You don't want to U-turn,
Right.
but it's like part of it. The roundabouts are
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah.
But also, you never get a full lane. Like there'll be someone parked into one of on the highways now in half a lane.
And you have to squeeze yourself.
So you move over, then they move over, and then they're in oncoming traffic.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Chaotic,
but
right?
But it works. And the thing that impressed me the most in Manila was I looked at the number of vehicles
Right.
that had damage.
Right. And
None, almost none.
Right,
I mean, I saw one or two,
right.
but there's no traffic accidents.
Right.
I couldn't believe it. Still none. I've never seen a traffic accident. There's millions of cars on the road
Right,
here,
right.
and I never see even a motorcycle.
So yeah, I think that traffic, the Philippine traffic, is like a microcosm of the Philippines. You think that you're in a disorganized, chaotic world, but you know, if you keep a sense of adventure and open mind, somehow we make it work.
It's like a stream.
In the end, right?
It's like a stream. The little drops of water,
Right.
they just find a way around the rocks and get down the stream.
Things fall into their proper places.
So, tell me if I'm wrong, but here's the advice I would give someone if they were coming here and they hadn't prepared.
Yeah, right.
Now, I prepared for a year online, looking at destinations and because I'm going to travel everywhere and see everything.
In the Philippines.
I would suggest that they do the research. Not necessarily. I kind of agree but disagree with people that say you should take an exploratory trip for a month or two. I think if you're going to make the decision, just come and go for it because there's nothing to lose. Like I said, I haven't looked back one single day. Also, I would say, and I've given this advice before, because vloggers have told me, go someplace like a big city, like Manila for your first month, get your feet on the ground, get comfortable, get used to the food, how you're gonna, prepare stuff, get all your clothes together, and have a good base of you're ready to go. Like you don't just climb up Everest. You got a base camp, you prepare, you get your food, get your energy back because you travel a lot. I had 2 10-hour flights.
Right.
You get your sleeping right. Take your time and just work into it. The worst advice I ever saw a blogger give was if you're a foreigner and you want to be in Filipina, you go to a mall, have a seat, and they'll come to you. That's just, I know that's the stupidest advice ever. It's not going to happen. Filipinas, the good ones are all shy. They would never approach a foreigner out of nowhere. If they do, you're in trouble. And you can't go up and talk to a stranger. As a Filipino, you just don't. You just don't. I tried. It doesn't work. So truly, the dating apps and probably Tinder being the best because you can look for long term or short term or whatever. They will meet you that way. They will absolutely talk to you, get to know you.
I think that works.
That it does.
That works.
It really works well because then you can see and talk to 100. But if you try to talk to 5 in public, it's just disheartening.
Impossible.
Yeah, because guys don't like rejection. You know that. And so, and when we get one, hi, how are you? What are you doing? Tell me about yourself. It encourages us. So that's probably my best advice is wait till you get here to get online. Wait till you get your feet on the ground and get settled and comfortable. Then go online and try to meet someone nice if you're looking for that. And you'll make it here. It's a great place. The people are friendly. The only negative is the traffic. Oh, and the food's not. People talk about, the Filipino food. Some bloggers say, it's not good. I don't eat a lot of Filipino food because there's so many choices.
A lot.
I get Italian here, you get German in Manila, you get great barbecue. Shout out to RK Smokies, is it? And Cactus Jack. And there's another Smokies with all top three for meats. And there's a few other places like this one that's great food. Yeah. So I would say make your way here, have a decent retirement, and you would agree if you want to live a nice, comfortable foreign lifestyle, 3,000 minimum, and if it's a little bit more than that, you're gonna live like a king. You're gonna be really happy and satisfied.
Plus, if you're really looking for like community, you'll find it in the Philippines. Like people are so outgoing and they're gonna share not just their time, but maybe even their food or their they're very outgoing,
very friendly.
very friendly. yeah, I guess that's what makes Philippines so attractive to a lot of visitors. The economy.
Well, thanks.
So let's talk about the economy for a second, because here's one of the most surprising things that surprised me. I was shocked by it. Was, and I'm not complaining. I'm just noticed it. Every condo had 2 to 3 people at the gates to let people in. They had 2 people, one at reception and one to open the door person, at every single condo. I thought, okay, I must be staying in a really, really nice place in McKinley Hill in BDC. And then I saw every condo was like that. Well, then I went to the mall, and the malls here, by the way, are fantastic. Way better than the US. Bigger, more luxurious, clean. I was in Ace Hardware, which is a US brand. It was a small Ace Hardware, like really small. And I counted 25 workers that were visible. And then you have someone in receiving, because I worked in retail for 17 years. You have someone receiving, you got people stocking in the back, and people in the offices, HR, things like that. 20 people, there was one person for every aisle. Now I know I'm gonna get blasted online for this, and I realize some of them are sales reps, they're paid by the light, people sell light bulbs, or this one gets paid by the car people, this one gets paid for, I get it. But it's crazy because I'm an introvert, and then it's constantly like, hey, can I show you a light bulb? I think, no, I don't. But the one interaction I had, and it isn't their fault. I asked someone, I needed tie straps, the big cargo straps for my truck. Like you have a Hilux, I have a Hilux, and you want some big cargo straps. And I showed them a picture of it because they didn't know what a cargo strap was. Showed a picture, they said, we don't have those. And I said, okay. And so then he gets someone else and they say, we don't have that. I walked over 2 aisles and there were this giant orange cargo straps. They had the small ones and and I bought the big ones.
Exactly what you need, right?
But 20-some people, they didn't even know what they had. And from a retail background. So, and now I totally understand that the Philippines is about supplying jobs for everybody. So they don't pay a lot, but they try to employ everybody they can. So I get that. But I see everything in the Philippines through an economic lens. And so I see, the low wages, and I realize that that causes a lot of situations to happen.
I think we're so many. The Filipinos we're 110 million now. For the government to educate all of us, like it takes so much effort to educate all of us. So what I'm trying to say is education is not really affordable and it's not accessible. So you will get a lot of really low quality work,
untrained labor.
So that's the reason why you would get one person just doing one thing, which they don't even know what a tie
strap is.
Tie strap. See. So but of course, because we are also so many, like 110 million, you will really get a lot of good quality Filipinos. And they're either here in the Philippines doing really high quality job, or they're abroad.
Nurses.
You're
the biggest exporter of great nurses.
So that's speaking of the economics of it all. Like, I think it's just because we're too many and it's so difficult to manage everybody. So, but we have to take care of the others that are not that productive. So that's why we have jobs for everyone.
You have the
most number of sailors, and the most number of nurses exported. And I'll tell you, I went on an Alaska cruise line. Every one of the people there that I met, all of the servers and cabin people, everybody's Filipino.
See?
And they were so nice. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, man, this must be a great country, and it is.
And they all know how to sing, right?
I I think most of them do. I don't. I've met some of the neighbors.
Right. They sing.
They sing, but they don't sing.
Right. Okay.
The song hates them.
Right.
I don't care for them much either. But at least their system is loud.
Right.
At least
It masquerades the
up to 11. Yeah. Well, no, because their microphone, they turn their microphones
Good.
really high too.
Good.
Nothing like bad singing, except a really loud bad singing.
Right.
It's like being at a buffet. It's all you can eat, but it's really bad food.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's all you can eat though. So. Yeah.
Not that quality.
No.
Right. Understood.
And it's nice though because having a larger budget, when it comes to tipping, really 50 pesos or less than $1 is a very big
deal.
tip.
Big deal.
And if you go to, like I talked about Cactus Jack, great restaurant, great food, the person, they'll park your car for you, they'll move the cone, they'll open your door for you. If it's hot, they'll have an umbrella for you. And I'm like, yeah, give
Like
this
a
guy
king,
a tip.
right? Yeah.
Give this guy a tip. And that might be 25% of his wages for the day. And it doesn't hurt me at all, but it helps him a lot. And you can spread out your budget to really help a lot of people. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
Thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Nice.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sure. I think that was a good. You're gonna cut it, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna cut all this out.
Yeah, I think that was nice. That was a nice.
Yeah, no, that was good.